Most people die without ever meeting themselves. Jung spent his entire life uncovering truths that make people uncomfortable, not because they're complex, but because they're unbearably simple. Truths we all know in our bones, but spend our entire lives denying. After analyzing thousands of patients, diving into his own unconscious and pioneering depth psychology, Jung realized most human suffering comes from one source: refusing to accept basic truths about ourselves, truths that our ego works overtime to suppress. Today, I'm sharing 37 of Jung's harshest realizations, not to depress you, but to free you. Because Jung discovered that the moment you stop running from these truths is the moment your real life begins. And warning, number 23 might make you realize you've been living someone else's life this entire time. Here's what Jung understood that most psychologists don't. The truth doesn't care about your feelings. It exists whether you accept it or not. And the longer you deny it, the more it controls you from the shadows. Every patient who transformed in Jung's practice had one thing in common. They stopped negotiating with reality. They stopped pretending. They faced what everyone else was too scared to see. These aren't feel-good affirmations. These aren't gentle suggestions. These are the psychological equivalent of cold water to the face. Let's start with the truths about your shadow, the part of you that you've spent your whole life pretending doesn't exist. Truth number 1, everything you hate in others exists in you. That person who disgusts you, that trait that makes your skin crawl, that's your shadow waving at you. Jung called this shadow projection. And it's happening every time you have an intense emotional reaction to someone. The arrogant person triggers you because you've suppressed your own confidence. The weak person bothers you because you've rejected your own vulnerability. Until you own these projections, you'll keep meeting yourself and everyone you despise. Truth number 2, your biggest weakness hides behind your biggest strength. This is the shadow's favorite hiding spot. The super helpful person, they're often controlling, unable to let others struggle and grow. The fiercely independent one, they're terrified of intimacy, using strength as armor. The always peaceful person, they have rage so intense they've buried it under forced calm. Your persona, the mask you show the world, is usually the exact opposite of your shadow. Jung saw this pattern in every patient. What they were most proud of was compensating for what they were most afraid of. Truth number 3, you're not a good person. You're also not a bad person. You're a whole person, capable of both. And that's what terrifies you. Jung said, "I'd rather be whole than good, but most people would rather be half a person than admit their darkness." You have the capacity for cruelty, selfishness, destruction. Denying this doesn't make you moral, it makes you dangerous. Because unconscious shadow is far more destructive than conscious darkness. The person who knows their capacity for evil and chooses good is truly moral. The person who denies their darkness will act it out unconsciously. Truth number 4, the parts of yourself you've rejected don't disappear. They go underground and sabotage your life from there. That addiction that won't go away, that's your shadow seeking expression through the back door. That anxiety that appears from nowhere, that's your shadow trying to break through your defenses. That depression that descends like fog, that's your shadow, exhausted from being caged. Every symptom is a messenger from your rejected self. Truth number 5, your shadow contains your genius, not just your demons. This is what most people miss. The shadow isn't just darkness. It's everything you've rejected, including your gifts. The anger you suppress holds your power. The sensitivity you mock holds your creativity. The wildness you fear holds your authenticity. Jung found that people's greatest contributions often came from integrating the very traits they had spent decades rejecting. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's your unclaimed treasure. Truth number 6. Nice people are often the most dangerous. Jung's most disturbing discovery. People who can't access their aggression can't protect themselves or others. They become passive-aggressive, leaving destruction in their wake while maintaining plausible deniability. Or they store up resentment until they explode in ways that destroy everything. Better to be consciously capable of harm and choose not to harm than to pretend you're harmless. The truly good person has integrated their capacity for evil. The nice person has just hidden it. Truth number 7. You project your unlived life onto your children. Every dream you didn't pursue, every trait you suppressed, every path you didn't take, you'll unconsciously force your kids to live it out. They become your shadow carriers, living the life you were too scared to live. The artistic parent who became an accountant raises a child who must be creative. The aggressive parent who became passive raises a child who must fight. Your children don't just inherit your genes, they inherit your unlived life. Truth number 8. You don't love people. You love your projection onto them. For the first few months or even years, you're not in relationship with a person. You're in relationship with your own unconscious projected onto them. They're your anima or animos, your internal feminine or masculine. They're your unlived life. They're your fantasies. Then reality breaks through. The projection fades, and you say they changed. They didn't change. Your projection wore off. Now the real relationship can begin, if you're brave enough for it. Truth number 9. The people who trigger you most are your greatest teachers, not because they're wise, but because they're mirrors reflecting your disowned self. That family member who drives you insane, they're showing you something you refuse to see in yourself. Your emotional reactions are never about them. They're about what they're activating in your shadow. The stronger the trigger, the bigger the shadow material. Jung said, if you want to know your shadow, look at what annoys you most in others. Truth number 10. Most relationships are unconscious contracts between shadows. I'll be your missing piece if you'll be mine. The rational one pairs with the emotional one. The responsible one with the spontaneous one. The giver with the taker. Two incomplete people trying to make one complete person. It works until one person starts growing. Then the contract breaks, and the relationship either evolves or dies. Most die because growth threatens the unconscious agreement. Truth number 11. The moment you stop needing someone is usually when they start wanting you. Jung noticed this paradox constantly. Psychological independence creates attraction, while neediness repels. Why? Because need is a burden. It makes the other person responsible for your wholeness. But when you're complete in yourself, you become attractive because you're offering love, not seeking salvation. The universe has a twisted sense of humor about this. Truth number 12. You're attracting exactly who you are, not who you want. Your unconscious is a magnet, drawing its match. The people who keep showing up in your life are mirrors of your current psychological state. Keep meeting narcissists. Look at your own boundaries. Keep finding unavailable people. Examine your own availability. Keep attracting chaos. Find your own instability. Change what you attract by changing who you are. Until you do shadow work, you'll keep meeting the same person in different bodies. Truth number 13. Love and attachment are opposites. Love wants the other to be free, even if that means losing them. Attachment wants the other to fill a void, even if that means imprisoning them. Love comes from wholeness. Attachment comes from emptiness. Most people have never experienced love, only various forms of sophisticated attachment. They call it love, but it's need dressed up in romantic clothing. Truth number 14. Your parents live inside you whether you like it or not. Their voices became your inner critic. Their fears became your limitations. Their unlived dreams became your unconscious missions. Their relationship patterns became your template. You're not free until you consciously separate your psyche from theirs. Jung called this process psychological birth, and most people never achieve it. They remain psychological children in adult bodies. Truth number 15. Loneliness has nothing to do with being alone. It's about being disconnected from yourself. You can be surrounded by people and totally lonely, or completely alone and deeply connected. The quality of your relationship with yourself determines everything else. Most people use relationships to avoid facing themselves. But the loneliness always returns because you can't escape yourself through others. Truth number 16. You're lying to yourself about something right now. Maybe about how happy you are in your relationship. Maybe about why you stay at that job. Maybe about that habit you say isn't a problem. Jung said neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. What legitimate suffering are you avoiding? What truth would break your life open if you admitted it? That's where your growth lives, in the lie you're maintaining. Truth number 17. Your ego thinks it's in charge. It's not. About 95% of your behavior is unconscious, automatic programs running without your awareness. You think you're choosing, but you're mostly reacting. You think you're driving, but you're mostly being driven. Free will exists, but it's much smaller than your ego wants to admit. Most of your life is unconscious patterns playing out while your ego takes credit or assigns blame. Truth number 18. The story you tell about yourself is mostly fiction. Your memories are edited to support your ego's narrative. Your motivations are rationalized after the fact. Your identity is a construction built on selective attention and convenient forgetting. The you think you are is just a character your ego created to make sense of chaos. Jung called this your personal myth, and most people never realize it's just a story. Truth number 19. Your biggest fear already happened. Whatever you're terrified of, abandonment, failure, rejection, humiliation, you've already survived it, usually in childhood, when you had no defenses. You're not scared of it happening, you're scared of feeling it again. But here's the thing, you're already feeling it. You're living your entire life organized around avoiding something that already occurred. The fear is a memory pretending to be a future. Truth number 20. You know exactly what you need to do. Under all the confusion, overthinking, and seeking advice, you know. You've always known. The truth sits in your gut like a stone. You just don't want to accept what it will cost. So you pretend you're confused. You gather more information. You ask more people. But deep down, below your ego's noise, your self knows exactly what needs to happen. Truth number 21. Your comfort zone is killing you slowly. Jung said, the most damaging thing is the unlived life. Every day you choose comfort over growth, safety over truth, familiar over authentic, you're dying a little. Depression is often your psyche's way of saying, this isn't enough. This isn't why we're here. Your symptoms are your self's rebellion against a life too small for your soul. Truth number 22. You're addicted to your problems. They give you identity. I'm the one with anxiety. They give you something to talk about. They excuse you from taking risks. I would, but my depression. They keep you connected to others through complaint. Who would you be without your problems? That terrifying question is why you keep them. Your problems have become your personality. Truth number 23. You're living someone else's life. Your career? Probably your parents' idea of success or society's definition of valuable. Your values? Probably inherited, unexamined. Your dreams? Probably what you think you should want, not what you actually want. Most people are living a life designed by committee, family, culture, media. The life you're living might not be yours. And the saddest part, you might not realize it until it's too late. Truth number 24. Normal is a collective psychosis. What society calls normal, working jobs that kill your soul, staying in relationships that died years ago, living for some future retirement that may never come, is actually insane. But when everyone's doing it, it seems sane. Jung said, "Show me a sane man and I will cure him." Because true sanity looks like madness to a mad world. Truth number 25. The masses are always wrong about what matters. If everyone believes something, it's probably false or superficial. Truth is usually unpopular at first. Wisdom is usually rejected by the majority. The crowd is almost always unconscious, moving together like a school of fish, each thinking they're choosing their direction. Jung saw every major truth start as heresy. What everyone knows is usually what everyone's wrong about. Truth number 26. Your culture is a prison you can't see. Every belief you think is yours was programmed into you before you could think. Every value you hold sacred is culturally determined. Every obvious truth is just your culture's assumption. You're not thinking your thoughts, you're thinking your culture's thoughts. And until you see the prison, you can't escape it. Jung called this the cultural complex, the collective shadow we all share without knowing it. Truth number 27. Success as society defines it is a trap. Jung watched countless successful people have complete breakdowns at midlife. They'd achieved everything: money, status, family, and felt empty. They climbed the ladder and realized it was against the wrong wall. External success without individuation leads to internal collapse. The midlife crisis isn't a crisis. It's your self-demanding authenticity after decades of performance. Truth number 28. Most people die without ever living. They exist, go through motions, follow scripts, meet expectations. They function, work, consume, reproduce. But they never individuate. They never become themselves. They die as copies, never knowing they could have been originals. Jung said this was the greatest tragedy, not death, but unlived life. Most people's tombstones should read, "Never born." Truth number 29. Your symptoms are your psyche trying to heal you. Anxiety is pushing you toward growth. It's your unlived life demanding expression. Depression is forcing you inward. It's your psyche saying, "Stop and listen." Insomnia is your unconscious demanding attention. It won't let you sleep through your life anymore. Physical illness often carries psychological truth, your body expressing what your mouth won't say. Stop killing the messenger. Start listening to the message. Truth number 30. You have to die psychologically to be reborn. The person you've been, the adapted self, the false self, the ego self, has to end for the person you're becoming to emerge. This ego death feels like actual death, because to your ego, it is. Everything you've identified with must be released. Most people choose slow death over this temporary one. They'd rather die gradually over decades than face this death and rebirth. Truth number 31. Nobody can save you. No guru has your answers. No therapist can do your work. No partner can complete you. No parent can heal you. They can point the way, hold space, offer tools. But you have to walk through your own unconscious. You have to face your own shadow. You have to integrate your own psyche. You have to become your own savior. Jung said, the therapeutic relationship works not because the therapist heals you, but because it creates conditions for you to heal yourself. Truth number 32. Your true self is not an improved version of who you are. It's who you would have been if nothing had gone wrong. Before the trauma that made you guard your heart. Before the conditioning that made you doubt yourself. Before the adaptations that helped you survive, but now keep you from thriving. It's not about becoming better. It's about becoming real. It's about removing everything that isn't you. Truth number 33. Integration is more important than improvement. You don't need to be more positive. You need to include your negativity consciously. You don't need more light. You need to befriend your darkness. You don't need to rise above. You need to include below. Wholeness over goodness, always. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to be complete. Truth number 34. Suffering without meaning is hell. Suffering with meaning is life. Jung didn't promise to eliminate suffering. He knew that was impossible and even undesirable. He promised to help you find what your suffering means. When you know why you suffer, you can bear almost anything. When you don't know why, even small suffering becomes unbearable. Meaning is the difference between depression and dark night of the soul, between anxiety and growth edge, between breakdown and breakthrough. Truth number 35. Your wounds are where your gifts hide. The place you're most broken is where your greatest contribution lives. Your trauma isn't your curse, it's your curriculum. Your pain isn't pointless, it's your purpose in disguise. Jung saw this repeatedly. People's greatest gifts emerge from their greatest wounds: the wounded healer, the broken teacher, the scarred guide. Your wounds qualify you for your work in the world. Truth number 36. Happiness is not the goal, wholeness is. Happy people aren't necessarily individuated, but individuated people have something better than happiness. They have meaning, they have depth, they have themselves. They can hold both joy and sorrow, light and dark, creation and destruction. They're not trying to feel good all the time. They're trying to feel everything consciously. They've traded the pursuit of happiness for the pursuit of wholeness. Truth number 37. Death is the ultimate truth nobody wants to admit. Not just physical death, though that too, but ego death, relationship death, dream death, identity death. The death of who you thought you were, the death of who you wanted to be. Life is a series of deaths and rebirths. The more you resist death, the less you live. Jung said, individuation is learning to die properly, letting go of what needs to go so what needs to emerge can emerge. Jung said something near the end of his life that brings all these truths together. The most important question anyone can ask is, what myth am I living? Because here's the ultimate truth. You're living a story whether you know it or not. Either you're living your myth, your authentic path, your true story, or you're living someone else's myth that got inserted into your psyche before you could choose. These 37 truths aren't meant to depress you. They're meant to wake you up, to show you where you've been sleepwalking, to illuminate where you've been lying to yourself, to reveal where you've been living someone else's myth instead of your own. Each truth you accept is a chain you break. Each shadow you face is power you reclaim. Each projection you withdraw is energy that returns to you. Each lie you stop telling is life force you recover. Jung wasn't interested in making people feel better. He was interested in making people real, because only real people can live real lives. Only those who face truth can find meaning. Only those who accept the darkness can hold the light. So here's my challenge. Pick the truth that bothered you most, the one that made you want to close the video, the one you wanted to argue with, the one that felt like a personal attack. That's your work. That's where your edge is. That's where your growth lives. That's where your unlived life is waiting. That's where your myth diverges from the collective myth. Don't spiritually bypass it with platitudes. Don't intellectualize it into abstraction. Don't dismiss it as negative. Sit with it. Feel it. Let it crack you open. Because Jung's entire psychology can be summed up in one brutal sentence. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. These 37 truths are fate breakers. They're the unconscious made conscious. They're the lies exposed. They're the beginning of your real life, if you're brave enough to accept them. Most people will hear these truths and change nothing. They'll nod along, maybe share the video, feel temporarily enlightened, then go back to sleep. Back to the comfortable lies, back to the provisional life, back to living someone else's myth. But some of you, the ones Jung called the called, will feel something shift. You'll recognize these truths not as attacks, but as invitations. Not as judgments, but as doorways. Not as problems, but as solutions. If you're ready to go deeper, to actually work with these truths instead of just knowing them, subscribe for more Jungian psychology. And to understand the shadow work process specifically, the key to integrating these truths, click the video on your screen now. Remember what Jung said, I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. These 37 truths show you what happened to you, the conditioning, the wounding, the adaptations. Now it's time to choose what you become. The question isn't whether these truths are real, they are, and deep down, you know it. The question is whether you're ready to stop running from them. Your unconscious already knows the answer. It's time your conscious mind caught up.